Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am here today with crowdfunding expert extraordinaire, Lisa Furland, and we also have a pretty packed and information-filled session here for you. I'm going to introduce this lovely lady that we have with us, Lisa Furland. She is a mentor to so many of us who have worked on crowdfunding, and I have had one-on-one sessions with Lisa. She has helped, I don't know how many, I'll let Lisa go into the details of that, but just always there to help an author. And her authors are coming out of those crowdfunding campaigns fully funded, and it's just amazing to watch what she's done. So I asked her to join us and to give us an overview of crowdfunding and the secrets that she has to share. So thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, April, and thank you so much to everyone for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about how to crowdfund your book. Now, crowdfunding is really great for children's book authors because, as you know, there's a lot of upfront costs related to illustrations and offset printing and all of that. And so more and more authors are turning to crowdfunding as a potential solution for this financial burden. What a lot of authors mistakenly think is that it's easy to do, or that it's free money, or that it's super, just something you put up and money will just roll in. April asked me to share with you the secrets of success. And as you probably have figured out after going through, the secret to success is really just consistency, engagement, and producing super high quality work over and over and over again. So there's no shortcut to success, but that is the key to success for crowdfunding. So as we go through this presentation, I'm going to give a high level overview of what crowdfunding is, so you understand what it is and what it isn't, as well as determine if crowdfunding is a possible solution for you. It is not right for everyone, but there are things that you can do, and you can use the principles of crowdfunding in your regular marketing, because it is marketing. So no matter what, you're going to learn something today, whether you decide to crowdfund your book or not. And then if you are really serious about it and you're excited and this is a potential solution that you want to move forward with, then there are certain things you need to know before getting too far down the road. And we'll go through all of that. All right, so as April mentioned, I am mentor to many. I've been doing this full time. I'm currently at 120,000 on both platforms, Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And those are with authors who have worked with me directly. There are authors who have worked or used my resources who I don't know, and they don't factor into that number. So I don't really know how much I've helped, but just based on other people recommending me, which is so wonderful and fabulous, I get a small sense of how broad I have reached, which is my goal. My goal is to help, just like April is here to help you learn how to self-publish. My goal is to help authors figure this out, because when I was doing it, this did not exist. There was comic books and there was games, but there are no blogs about how authors can use Kickstarter and Indiegogo to crowdfund their books. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years, is creating videos and courses and blogs and interviewing authors and providing coaching services to help authors succeed at crowdfunding. I've crowdfunded numerous times, different levels and for different types of books, and building an audience for each book was a completely different challenge. And as social media changes and as rules change, what worked 2 years ago doesn't work today. And so when you do hear from your panel of crowdfunding authors, take all of their advice with a grain of salt, because again, it's almost like, childbirth. Like once you've been through it, you know kind of what to expect, but each baby is completely different. It's like that. So it's the same with crowdfunding your book. All right, so let's do a high level overview of what crowdfunding is. So crowdfunding is marketing on steroids. It is a crucible of marketing. So if you are in any way hesitant about marketing your book, then this might not be the right option for you. What it is, it's a time limited round of funding. So you are doing a burst, a sprint of marketing. And what you're trying to do is get everyone rallied and taking action on your launch day. So you have a rapid support, a rapid push, a boost, a kickstart. And then from there, the rest of your campaign is supposed to sail into the goal of 100%. It is different from regular marketing in that it is very public and it is transparent. Everyone can see how much money you're raising and how many backers you have. So it is a very much putting yourself out there and putting your book in front of everyone. So it is a public display of support or the lack thereof. And as I mentioned, launch day is essential. It is crucial because it is what determines the rest of your campaign. You have to really get a good boost from your friends and family, and then you will be able to reach strangers and start to get more readers who don't know who you are necessarily, but who trust their friend who recommended you, and so they back your campaign. It's a way to leverage your community. So I encourage every author to be a crowdfunding author. You have to support other authors crowdfunding their books. Like, that's part of it. You know, you can't ask for help until you give support yourself. And so what you have to do is you have to bring your platform, your community of readers to the crowdfunding platform to help you launch on that platform. So let's just say you're on Kickstarter. You have to bring your readers to Kickstarter and get them to back your book, and then you will start to reach other people who are active. Crowdfunding takes advantage of a lot of classic marketing techniques. Scarcity. It is time limited. The rewards will eventually disappear over time. So there's only a short amount of time for people to take action, which is crucial because if your book is always there, they just will never get off their butts and back your campaign. So it has to be time limited, and the shorter, the better. 30 days or less has a higher success rate than longer. Just don't drive yourself crazy. It's exhausting running a crowdfunding campaign. You don't want to do it any longer than you have to. It's great to offer exclusive rewards. So exclusivity, the whole idea is that we're offering something more than what readers will be able to get later on. This will spur them to take action. And we are limiting the rewards. You can limit in quantity as well as time. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into this, but that is another marketing tactic. There's also fear of missing out, social proof, demand, and popularity. When you say, yay, we have 100 new readers, people are like, wow, 100 people like this book, I should go check it out. Whereas when someone's buying a book on Amazon, maybe that's what the bestseller tag is all about. It's the same idea. It's showing this social proof. Other people think that it is popular, and therefore I'm going to hop on the train, like keeping up with the Joneses. There's also a lot of trust and likability factor at play here. People want to see what you're going to do with the funds. They're not just going to give you 20 bucks. They want to make sure that you're going to spend it wisely. And so there are a lot of things. If your goal is set too high, people will just discount you as you didn't do your research in terms of what's feasible or not. So there's a lot of trust that goes into that. We're also going to talk about the investment structure of whether it's all or nothing versus flexible funding and what platforms offer which. So there are different types of crowdfunding. There's rewards-based crowdfunding, and that is where someone gives you money and they get a reward in return. So they get something for their money. This is not a donation. That is donations-based crowdfunding, which is further down. So when you're structuring your crowdfunding campaign and all your messaging, you want to let people know that they are getting a lot for their money. This is not a donation. They are getting something from it. There's also equity-based crowdfunding, which you may hear here and there. That is where more like startups are using equity-based. That is not allowed on Kickstarter, but Indiegogo does have an arm that does equity-based crowdfunding. And that is something more if you were looking at starting up a publishing company, for example, you need more capital than, say, a book. There's also donations-based crowdfunding. This is what we think of when we see GoFundMe's. Facebook has a lot of donations-based crowdfunding around your birthday. They always say, hey, do you want to tag a nonprofit and start donations-based charity run? And that's what it is that people just give money and they don't expect anything in return. And then there's debt crowdfunding, which is even less common, but that is where basically you pay the money back. So people put money in and you pay back at a certain interest rate. But we are just going to focus on rewards-based crowdfunding. So Kickstarter and Indiegogo specifically. Now we have a chicken and egg problem when it comes to crowdfunding. So what comes first, the book or the campaign? Because you need an audience to have a good campaign, but you can't do that easily without first having a book. So how do you build an audience if you don't have a book? How do you sell something that doesn't exist yet? Now, there are authors who already have the book. They have the book 90% of the way done, and they use the crowdfunding as their big marketing push to launch their book. Then there are other authors who don't have the book at all. They have an idea. And what do? How do they get enough going so that they can turn the crowdfunding campaign truly can launch their idea into something? Well, we're going to talk about that. So with the chicken or the egg, no matter what, you can't do anything unless you have an audience who will back and share your campaign on launch day. And it's important that they do both. It's important they back and share. So you need their support and you need their network. You need them to help launch you. So that's really key in the messaging is you have to have an audience. Now this audience could be your friends and family. It could be your 200 closest friends. I don't know, but you have to have someone who's willing to do this for you. You also really have to have a book cover done, mock-up art, something. You have to have something to show people. It's really hard to even sell the idea of a book without people visually attaching themselves to it. And it's just too important. So you have to have a book cover mock-up, and I recommend 2 to 3 interior illustrations. This requires investment on your side, and that is what's required. It's really hard to do it in any other way. You also have to have a very clear why message. Why are you writing this book? Why should people buy your book? Why do people have to buy it now? And that is what I work with authors is clarifying this why message and making it persuasive so that people take action. This is also a really great exercise for you to do because this affects the rest of your marketing for the rest of your book's life. As long as you are marketing your book, you are going to come back to this same why message. The taking action, the call to action, you'll say, buy it now on Amazon or buy it on my website. But for your why, for your crowdfunding campaign, you will say, pre-order or back or become a donor or whatever you want to say. You also have to know who your audience is. Who are you targeting and where do they hang out? Or do they hang out online? Do they hang out in events? Do they go to conferences? Where are these people and how are you going to get in contact with them? And then of course you have to be a supportive member of the community. So no matter what, you have to support other authors, share their campaigns, review their books, back their campaigns, whatever it is that you want to do. And then when it's your turn, hopefully they come through for you. But you have to be a supportive member. And if you do that willingly and gladly, more people will be happy to support you. All right. So some crowdfunding stats from statista.com. So these are kind of sobering. And this is why I try to help authors because I want more authors to find success. There's really no need for only 36% of all Kickstarters to successfully fund. This was as of last year. 13% of flexible funding models reached their goal. And that's really referring to Indiegogo's flexible funding model. So only 13% of those reached their goal. And 36% of Kickstarter, which is all or nothing, reaches their goal. There are 2,000 crowdfunding sites to choose from. So you have tons of options. And if you live internationally, there are crowdfunding sites that are more native to each country. So each country now has their own growing acceptance and audience of crowdfunding. So it's just growing and getting more common. However, awareness of crowdfunding from the not crowdfunding people, so from just regular people, it's still rather unknown. And in 2016, they said 36% of US respondents said they had never heard of it. But I think it's way higher than that. I mean, if you talk to your aunt and uncle and your cousin, a lot of them may have heard it on the news, but they've never backed a campaign themselves. And so a lot of your work is going to be doing educating your audience on what crowdfunding is and what it isn't, just like I've done here. And Kickstarter by far is the largest platform. To date, they've raised over $4 billion. So they are the largest rewards-based crowdfunding platform. There are other that are equity-based that are larger, but we're not talking about those. So I'm here to tell you that you have to choose all or nothing because all or nothing campaigns are 37% more likely to succeed over the flexible funding model. It doesn't mean you won't be successful. You're just more likely to reach your goal when you have an all or nothing type of setup. And why is that? It's because you're going to work really hard to reach your goal. If your goal is $8,000 and you're $1,000 away, you are really going to hustle to make up the difference. You're like, hey, I get to keep it all anyway. Maybe you're not going to stretch or bother people or send another email or make that last phone call. So you do end up working a lot harder to reach your goal. It's also a lot more stressful to do it this way, which is why people are reluctant to take this risk. What it does is it shows that your investors, it shows your readers that you yourself are fully invested in your own campaign. You are telling them, hey, this book is not going to go forward if I don't reach my goal. So I am totally invested in this. I have all my eggs in this basket and I need this to work. So you're really exuding this level of confidence and security that I'm going to make this work because this is all or nothing. The keep it all model is just kind of like, I would like 8,000, but you'll still get the book if I raise 2,000. So am I more likely as a backer to give you my money? I don't know. It depends. So in all or nothing model, your backers are really pushed to help you reach your goal. If you ask them to share it with 2 more people, they probably will do it. Whereas if it's a keep it all model, they're less likely to do that. You're also going to set a more realistic goal. You're not going to have some pie in the sky, I want $100,000. You're going to set something realistic. If you don't reach it, you don't get anything. And your backers are creatively and monetarily invested in the production of your book. So there's a lot at stake here. Now, is crowdfunding right for you? And these are the questions you should ask yourself. Do you have a book people want to buy? Not just your mom and your Aunt Karen, but do you have a book other people truly want to buy? And this is where you have to do market research and ask people and get people's opinions who aren't related to you. Do you have an existing audience who is interested in what you are offering? And if not, can you build an audience within 90 days before you launch? Really doing it beforehand, it's just a lot of effort to keep them warm and educate them. You're going to start all of your education sequence, 30 days out. So you really need to build and get your audience as big as possible 90 days before you launch. Are you willing to talk to strangers about your book? I mean, like real strangers, like newscast journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, all those people. The more external proof you have that your book is worth buying, the more likely your own audience is going to buy your book. Yes, people love you, but sometimes they need like that extra nudge of like, does someone else like this? I mean, if your book is featured in the New York Times, you're going to have a lot of strangers buying your book. And it's that external social proof that makes the difference. So if you're pitching New York Times journalists, more power to you. You're going to get a lot of good placement for your book and a lot of good social proof that your book is worth buying. Are you willing to make your success or failure public knowledge? This is where a lot of people shrink away from. It stresses me out. It stresses everybody out. The public failure aspect is really sobering and humbling, and it's really, really tough. So are you willing to potentially fail, or are you going to really hustle and bust your butt so that you don't fail? What are you willing to do? And then you really need to have the time, focus, and energy to set all things aside and plan your entire campaign for 90 to 120 days. That's really the minimum. My last campaign was April to May, and I probably worked 6 months on it, on and off before launching. And I didn't take on any other work. I turned away all clients, and I said, no, I'm going to focus on my own work. I'm going to book myself because I needed to focus on my own book full time. And that's how much effort it really takes. All right, so Seth Godin, he's like, Kickstarter is not a profit center. It's an organizer and an instigator. It's making you organize your thoughts and come at Kickstarter organized and really creatively pushing the envelope. It is not really going to make you money. It's going to get your project off the ground, which for a lot of us, that's all we're looking for. So here's some reality from crowdfunding authors. And I love talking with authors. You're going to hear from some next week, but I love talking with authors because everyone has a slightly similar, but a different experience. So some people really blew it out of the water. Even for a $40,000 campaign, it just takes so much time and energy to do this, but it's so amazing to see people gather around your idea and put their own weight behind it. And so it really is this magical thing. I mean, when you get a book review on Amazon, you're like, wow, some stranger supports me. It's the same exact thing when you get all these strangers backing your campaign. These are strangers who are supporting you and saying, I believe in what you're doing. Rebecca raised $4,000 on Kickstarter. And for her audience was in Australia. And she said most people had no idea about crowdfunding and how it worked. They thought it was charity. And so she had to do a ton of education with her audience about what Kickstarter was. And sometimes it's too little too late. You need to be getting all these messages to people before you launch. And that's part of the pre-launch process. Lisa Bet raised $11,000 and then some change on Kickstarter. And she talks about how the press coverage was somewhat disappointing. So it was great. She had excellent press coverage, newspapers, local news, international news. She was everywhere, but it led to no conversions. So she used the press features as proof that what she was doing was noteworthy, but it didn't grow her audience at all. And something similar kind of happened with Sherry, sort of. Sherry didn't get the blogger coverage that her influencers had promised. They said they would blast out her campaign to their newsletter list, and then they didn't do it. So anytime you look at external influencers or people to share your campaign, look at that as a cherry on top. So when you're building your strategy, just know that you have to bring your audience. Everything else is extra because you can't rely on other people. No one cares about this more than you do. So when we talk about building an audience, it's just a circular cycle, never-ending cycle of creating high quality, engaging content, sharing it with the right people, and then engaging with those people. And then you do that over and over and over again over time. And it takes a lot of time to create something, to share it, and then engage with people on it. Create, share, and engage. You can do this to grow in any way whatsoever. If you want to grow your Instagram following, you create really good Instagram content, you share it with the right people, and then you engage with everyone who interacts with it. And you do that a million times a day. Like, that's just what you do. If you are like, hey, I'm going to focus on my writing, write the best essays, books, whatever you want to write, share it, get it published on the third-party website, Huffington Post, I don't know. Submit, share, engage, and keep doing that over and over again, and you will build an audience. It's just a lot of hard work. But so is this potential for you? What actually motivates people to support crowdfunding campaigns? My background is in data analysis, and I love looking at academic studies. And there was this fantastic study done in 2015, and it said basically it was comparing equity-based crowdfunding projects with rewards-based crowdfunding projects. And they asked people, like, what are you actually motivated to do? Why are you motivated to support this stranger's campaign, either by investing in equity or by getting the reward? And what they looked at was that there were some main motivating factors that I think we all know to help others. So there is this need to lift someone up and help them. People want to do this. There's another need to be part of a community. And this is where your engagement in the community is so important. If people already know you, they're going to support you in it. The third reason was to collect the reward itself. People actually want the thing. And number 4 is to support a good cause. Now, not every book, every children's book has a cause behind it. Some do. And if yours does, maybe crowdfunding is right for you because people want the book and they want to support a cause and they want to help others. Like, they kind of want to do all these things. Now, the only deterrent they found was that there was a distrust of the creator's use of funds. And this is where being as transparent as possible as to where the funds are going and how they're going to be spent on your campaign page is so important, because the only deterrent someone would have to backing you is if they don't trust that you're going to spend it in a reasonable way. So the 2 main motivating factors they found was that people just want the thing. They just want the reward. So create a book that people want and they will back you on Kickstarter. That's just how it goes. And then the trust. The trust factor was huge. So those were the most significant motivating factors. Everything else, helping others, being part of a community, supporting a cause, those were cherries on top, but it wasn't the main motivating reason why someone would support you on a crowdfunding platform. So good to know. Make really good rewards. So before you launch, there are different phases. You should be at this right now, if you've never done this before, is you're in the research phase where you are trying to understand the psychology behind crowdfunding. And the best way to understand what motivates a backer is to become a backer yourself and support other campaigns. And I'm not saying spend tons of money, support a campaign at the dollar level and see what type of messaging comes back from the creators, establish a relationship with the creators, ask how they're doing, what kind of help they need, anything like that. And you'll see they'll be very happy to talk to you and very grateful for your outreach. And then we have the pre-launch phase. And this is where you're creating content, you're creating videos, you're creating funny memes, you're writing articles, you're lining up all your chess pieces and getting ready for your opening moves. And that's where you plan out every day of your campaign and you're busy educating your audience as to what to do on launch day. As I said, launch day is most important. And then while you're crowdfunding, you should be reaching out to new people every day. You should be writing, you should be reaching out and be as creative as possible. This is why crowdfunding is exhausting on one hand, because you are using all of your creative resources to come up with new ideas, to change your marketing, to see what's resonating with people and do more of that. And it can be really tiring. And then if everything goes well, you have your options for fulfillment, where you will need to actually print and ship and deliver your books, communicate with your backers, and then if necessary, recover and relaunch depending on what you want to do. There are lots of options. So the strategy, as I said, educate your audience, warm them up, get them ready, get them excited. This is an exciting process. You want them to be so ready to support you and like waiting for launch day. That's the feeling you want. You want it to be them to be as excited for you as you are for this to go off. You have to offer rewards that your audience wants, and that requires market research or asking them. And then basically get as many people to support you on launch day as possible and take them behind the scenes. Give them something they can't get anywhere else. That's the perk of being a backer, is they get to see how all of this comes together. And then together, everyone celebrates your success. And then of course you have to fulfill, and you deliver the final product, service, or event. And then hopefully you're maintaining this relationship over time, and they are your loyal core of supporters everywhere you go and for every book that you launch from there on. All right, so more ingredients. Again, defining and crystallizing your marketing messages. You have to know exactly what your book does and for whom. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to find who your audience is. So identifying that is of utmost importance. Then, of course, you're building your campaign content. And this is where it gets into the right persuasive copy, not overwhelming your audience, building lead magnets, educating them, getting everyone else on board. So influential bloggers and journalists, authors, other crowdfunding authors, and then actually doing the plan, mapping out everything, creating all the content, and then adjusting as you go. Again, this is all the stuff you would do during a launch month, year, or launch quarter, I guess, but you're just condensing it all into a month. So why is launch day so vital? Well, depending on which platform you launch on, I only have statistics for Kickstarter because Kickstarter is very transparent about how much money is raised and what their stats are. I can't find the same stats for Indiegogo, but basically Kickstarter has 46 million unique views per month. And if your campaign brings in high converting traffic to the platform, Kickstarter is a business. They want more new users. So if your campaign is bringing more new user registrations and is bringing significant funds to the platform, not even significant funds, but just significant funds of your campaign total, they're going to move you up in the visibility so that you get seen by more of their regular traffic. This can be a positive and a negative, as I discovered myself. My campaign this year was one of the Kickstarter projects we love, which has a special badge and gets shown to more people. It also gets shown to more strangers who don't know me, who necessarily aren't, necessarily interested. And I had my first ever campaign cancellations. I had backers cancel their pledges right before the end of the campaign. And it was just so gutting to see people cancel their orders. And I'm like, why? Like, what was the point of that? So you have these people who float on the platform who are just addicted to backing campaigns, but it doesn't mean that they are a new loyal follower. So it was really tough for me to experience that. And I've worked with other authors who've experienced it themselves. And I think it's a Kickstarter project we love curse, where you get all this extra reach, but then you get kind of flaky reach where it's not people who care about you or know you, so they cancel their pledges. That makes it kind of tough. Kickstarter has 2 million active users who are serial backers. Again, these are people who back tons of campaigns. It doesn't mean they are serial stayers, they're just serial backers. So it's good to know going in. You want to hit these crucial milestones. Ideally, you want to raise at least 20% within 24 hours, 30% of your campaign total with it by day 3, 50% by day 7. And this is if you have a 30-day campaign. If you have a 21-day campaign, you want to adjust everything even closer. And everyone here is probably going to have a minimum of 100 backers. I would say 100 backers will get you $5,000 there around. So that's sort of the minimum that we're looking at. And I have calculators to show you how many people you need to reach in order to get that minimum of 100. Now, if you're like, oh, Lisa, this is too crazy, I'm not sure I want to do this, you can use these crowdfunding techniques without crowdfunding, and you can do it on your website. I'm actually working with an author in the Netherlands right now who is running, 2 authors in the Netherlands who are running their pre-order campaigns on their website, and they are offering extra rewards with every pre-order. So they have their website set up with the rewards and then ways for people to check out and indicate which extra reward they want. Now, the best way to do this is to make the rewards 2 times the value, perceived value, so that people are like, wow, this is a really good deal. One of the authors, she is a business coach as well. So she is offering her coaching time at a significant discount from what she normally does. So people who know her and are familiar with her in the community are like, wow, this is an excellent, excellent deal. I can't believe I'm getting coaching time with her for a fraction of what it would normally cost me. Of course, I'm going to select this reward and pre-order her book. So that is going well for the 2 of them. You can also, with any intensive marketing campaign, make it time limited. So run a short campaign. Don't drive yourself crazy. You could do 2 weeks where you just do a blog every day for 2 weeks and you appear on some podcasts. Just make it so it's time limited so people take action. Also, so you don't exhaust yourself. Have a big launch day. Make it huge. It doesn't have to be like the actual book launch day, but just set a day and say, this is the day I am going to quote unquote launch my book and get it out there and drive drive all these pre-orders. You can, if you're really gutsy, make it all or nothing. Again, you can mimic the Kickstarter-esque thing. You can set your campaign goal to be low and say, okay, if I don't reach $1,000, everyone gets their money back, but make it all or nothing and see what happens. Also, try to be transparent about what your goal is and how close you are to reaching the goal, because the transparency will put you on the spot and then it will build that trust. Again, the only deterrent was lack of trust. So put it out there and see what happens. You can also incentivize sharing and make your backers want to share your campaign. So you can create referral links. There are lots of ways to do this on WordPress. There are like extra plugins where you can create an affiliate link. And so you can get them invested in the success of your project, where you are rewarding them for spreading the word and bringing backers to your campaign or readers to your book. And also support other authors and crowdfunding campaigns, of course. All right, so to recap, basically crowdfunding is an intensive marketing strategy that really leverages the strength of community to increase your legitimacy and social proof and to find new supporters. Is it a possible solution for you and your book business? Well, if you have an idea for a book that's somewhat formed or fully formed, you have at least a book cover and a few spreads, and you're willing to put yourself out there and do the hard work to build your audience before you launch, then I think you can. I think you can definitely do it. You should definitely avoid some key mistakes. You have to have an audience, you have to warm them up, and you have to educate them before you launch. Get them excited and ready to take action on launch day. And so the key ingredients, to recap, what I would say is tons of research, lots of audience education, outreach to other people of interest, and collaboration with others.
For so many that we have talked about in our work group, we have many who have decided to go with KDP because they don't have a lot of money. So they're doing their paperback launches through KDP, and they're publishing an ebook. They've raised just enough money to really get the illustrations done. I just wanted to mention to the group here that if you feel like you would like to go with a hardcover, so you don't have to stop with paperback and think that's the end of it, you can use crowdfunding, and now your whole book is done. You can actually even offer people a free reward just for backing you at all of your ebook because it's already created, and you could ask them to support you in order to do a nice big print run of hardcover books. If you raise a certain amount of money, you'll print this many books. If you raise an additional amount of money, you'll print that many books. It's a very easy to understand thing for people who are like new to backing projects. And I think could be really successful for you if you want to take that next step and have beautifully printed hardcover books. It is a way to move forward in getting to that next level with your campaign.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for mentioning that, April. If you already have your book done and illustrated and on KDP, I have my books, the hardcover printing process just takes more time. You understand that the book exists, but not in the specific format. And so you have a better understanding of the timeline. You can give your backers a better estimate of what it is, and you can actually calculate the expenses much easier than if you were combining everything and combining illustration and editing and hardcover printing. So when you have a very specific goal like that, it's almost easier in a lot of ways.
This has been really fabulous. So thank you so much, Lisa, for your time and for the wonderful information that you've been so free to share with others. Thank you so much for joining. Bye, Lisa.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.